It's Jenna Cartier, aka Strange Babe, and let's talk about the energy of this week. So before we get started, I'm gonna light the old Palo Santo and open up a sacred space for us. So we're starting this week off, and when I say week, whenever I do weeks, I go by the moon. So I like to think of weeks as the first week of the month, the moonth, if you will, is whenever we have the new moon and it moves into a first quarter moon. That's a week. And then we have the first quarter moon moving into a full moon, and that's a week. Then we have the full moon moving into the last quarter moon. That's a week. And then we have the last quarter moon moving back into the new moon to start the cycle all over again, and that's a week. So there's 4 cycles, aka 4 weeks in a month, in a moon cycle. So that's kind of how I tend to look at things. Yeah, sure, we have our like Gregorian calendars and whatnot, but I like to go by the moon. So even though we are technically in Aries season already because the sun has moved into Aries, right? To me, and the way that I kind of view it all is we're not really moving into Aries season until we have this new moon in Aries. That's whenever the Aries moon cycle starts, and to me, that's whenever the Aries month starts. So we're moving into that. So we're definitely in Aries season, technically, but it's going to amp up even more here pretty soon. So this week actually is really just us moving into this new place. The Aries new moon is, every new moon is about new beginnings, but especially the Aries new moon because it's the first sign of the zodiac. It's like the newest of the new, you know? And so we start this week with the last quarter moon in Capricorn, which is a cardinal sign, and we'll end with the new moon in Aries, which is also a cardinal sign. So it's a cardinal week. What's cardinal mean? Well, there are 4 cardinal signs. That's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And every time, and these signs happen in the season whenever we are moving into a new season. So when we're moving into spring, it's Aries. When we're moving into summer, we're in Cancer season. We're moving into fall, that's Libra. We're moving into winter, that's Capricorn. So it's a forward-moving energy. It's a starting energy. It has the motivation and impulse to go. So that's where we are this week. We're getting started on stuff. It's definitely time of new beginnings. And with the moon in Capricorn, though, there's a lot going on in the sign of Capricorn right now. You know, I've talked about it before, and I'll keep talking about it. We have Saturn and Pluto coming into a conjunction here. These are very slow-moving planets, and they don't conjunct each other very often, and they're doing it in the sign of Capricorn, and they won't come into an exact conjunction until January of 2020, but really the entire year of 2019 is the build up to that time. It is the prep we are, whether we realize it or not, are making preparations for this big change. Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn it's kind of a controlled demolition of our societal structures, governments, whatever. And these aren't only societal structures, but they're also our personal structures that we have created for ourselves in our life that are now outdated, and we need to kind of reconsider and purge and rebuild. So we are going to be throughout this year being made aware of what systems have outlived their time, if you will, and what needs to go and what we need to build in our lives that are more authentic to who we are and more modern, if you will. You know, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly expanding. The universe is always expanding, and we are part of the universe. We are the universe, so we are expanding all the time too. And so we need to, just like, a hermit crab needs to find a new shell to live in once it gets too big for its old shell. Same thing happens for us, So we're kind of currently in that process. We're all growing, and we all need to kind of figure out what new structures are appropriate for our growth. So as the moon moves through Capricorn, it's squaring the Aries sun. The Aries sun just wants to go, just like, let's go, let's do this. Like, I'm ready to go. It has the spirit and the determination. And Capricorn, while it's also a cardinal sign, is like, but wait. Like, pretty much Capricorn feels like it always says no. However, even when it says no, it means yes. What do I mean by this? It's like a strict teacher who kind of tells you that you're not allowed to do something, but you are allowed to do it, but you have to make changes or do it more slowly, or plan it out, or be more responsible about it, or think things through, or sign some paperwork first, like shit like that. So as every time the moon moves through Capricorn this year, we're going to be getting tastes of this Saturn-Pluto thing going on. And on top of it, in Capricorn, we also have the South Node there, which the South Node is all about where, like, our past karma, our past, and in evolutionary astrology, the nodes are really big because they have a lot to do with, like, our past lives and where we are coming from. And it's even kind of, like, considered sometimes like toxic habits. They're like skills that we have acquired from our past, but also like toxic situations and stuff like that we need to kind of purge ourselves from. Whereas the North Node, which is now in Cancer, is kind of where we're headed to on our evolutionary progress, and the kind of energy that we need to align ourselves with in order to grow as human souls. So Pluto, the planet of transformation and purging the deep, dark stuff, putting its hands down into the gunk and pulling up the shit, if you will, and seeing it for what it is and getting rid of it. It is currently conjunct at the South Node. So while we are purging our past and kind of being made aware of, especially with having Mercury just having done a retrograde period in Pisces, which is the sign of our subconscious, where we've really been being made aware of our subconscious thought patterns and our past, and maybe some cycles that we have repeated, and like starting to see patterns that we seem to be repeating in our life or whatnot, and being made aware of it. Now, whether or not we actually take an evolved action toward kind of jumping out of any like toxic addictive loops is on us as individuals, but we are being given the tools to be made aware of these things now, to jump out of these loops and to ascend into, another tier, if you will. So be aware, with Pluto coming into this exact conjunction with the South Node, if you're holding on to your past too much, if you're obsessively clinging on to situations from your past and potentially projecting fears and paranoias and past conditioning onto the future, assuming that those things are going to repeat themselves again. If you do that, guess what happens? You will repeat them, because your vibe attracts your reality. You it's all the law of attraction, basically. Your thoughts create your reality. I could do a whole other video on that. So just be aware of that. Be aware of that right now, especially as, Mercury now, starting today, the day I film this on the 28th, is now finally going direct. And usually when Mercury goes direct, we feel like a clarity pretty quickly. However, I'm going to say with this one, Mercury's still in Pisces, where it's at its detriment. It doesn't like being in Pisces. It's not a logical place to be. And Mercury likes logic. So, and also on top of that, Mercury's still overcome and overshadowed by this giant Neptune energy. He's on top of Neptune right now, which is the god of the sea, which is more of that Pisces energy. So it's gonna take some time for this fog to lift. I'm gonna say at least a couple weeks until Mercury kind of gets out of its shadow. And shadows are, just in case you're not sure what those are, shadows, so whenever planets go retrograde, say they go retrograde at 15 degrees of a sign. So they moved to 15 degrees and they stopped at 15 degrees, and then they moved all the way back, say, to 1 degree. And then they moved all the way back to 15 degrees again, and then they keep going. But that 1 degree to the 15 degree mark, that place where that planet kind of washes over a couple times, actually happens 3 times, right? So because they go forward, they go back, and then they go forward again. That little area is called like the shadow zone. It's called the shadow. So whenever Mercury moves past 29 degrees of Pisces, which is where it stopped to go retrograde, we'll be out of the retrograde shadow. So not only will we be out of the retrograde shadow when Mercury hits that 29 degree mark, but that also means that Mercury will be exiting Pisces, because the last degree of Pisces is 29 degrees. So it'll be exiting Pisces and bursting into Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, which starts kind of a new like cycle, and it's like that's gonna be a big day whenever that happens. I'm not sure what day that is. I gotta look it up. I'll probably put it in the description or something. But I'm gonna go ahead and say we may not really feel the fog lift until around that time, but we will be making progress. So don't be too upset. I think we will be making progress. As we kind of revisit the stuff for the 3rd time that we've had to kind of, that we've been going over with the retrograde cycle. So don't be alarmed if you're still kind of in the fog, and we all are. We will be for a little bit here. So yeah. Now that Mercury is direct, though, that means we have all the planets direct. This is not super common to have all the planets direct for this long. And now it won't happen for much longer. I believe April 10th, Jupiter will decide to go retrograde. So from now till April 10th, just know that there is kind of a build in momentum happening right now as we're moving into Aries season, which is a very forward-moving, fresh start, kind of new beginning energy, and all the planets are direct. Boom! We're going to see some forward movement happening. So if you feel like things have been kind of slowing down for you, especially because we've had Mars and Taurus, which really slows things down. Mars is our drive and our way that we assert ourselves and our motivation and stuff like that. Taurus is a slow-moving energy, it just takes its time. Taurus is the bull, likes to sit out in the pasture and chew on grass for a while under the tree. That's kind of Taurus energy, where Mars is going to be moving into Gemini on the 30th this week, so that'll be on Saturday. So we're definitely this week, as we move into the new moon, we should start to feel a pickup in energy, I think, especially as we hit the new moon. Because when the moon darkens and it's in its darkening phase, we tend to kind of go in. It's less of like an outward kind of energy, and it's more of an inward energy. So though we are picking up momentum, we may not necessarily be asserting ourselves outwardly yet. We may be a little bit more inward. It may be more of like a revving up of our inner selves, kind of before we're able to push out. So yeah, when Mars moves into Gemini this weekend, there'll be more movement, more excitement. Things will start to pick up in speed for sure. And that'll be also when we're having the moon is going to be in Aquarius too. So that's an air sign. And it'll be a nice little energy shift then, especially because the Capricorn moon can kind of somber and kind of rough reality check and just frustrating and uncomfortable and itchy. And, Aquarius moon energy will help us to kind of detach and be like, oh, okay, let me just chill out for a little bit and not worry about it so much. And then with Mars and Gemini is like a puppy at a dog park. So although we will be feeling forward momentum, we could be a little bit scattered with where we're putting our energies, because we're going to have more energy coming in, and then we're going to just have like all these pies that we want to put our fingers into. So do be aware of that. It's a fun energy, but at the same time, it can be a little bit scattered, and maybe not so focused. So try to remain focused if you can. If not, whatever. And then, yes, after we have that moon moving into Aquarius, we will have the moon moving into Pisces early next week on Monday. And then we really start the balsamic moon phase, which is whenever the moon is in it's darkening, and we really start to go in, and things are more quiet and secretive. And this is especially accentuated because as the moon moves through Pisces, it's going to be conjuncting Mercury and Neptune, which are in Pisces right now, and Venus. And I just have a feeling this energy has a very hidden element to it. Like there's some kind of like dark before the dawn kind of thing about it. It could be very mysterious and magical, but I also see it as being potentially pretty deceptive. And I say that too because kind of thinking about what's going on like in America right now with the Mueller report, and there being a lot of confusion and delusion around what the Mueller report actually says, and people trying to control the narrative and things kind of being kept secret. And I feel like it could hit some kind of critical point this early next week. I see it as an interesting time, and for better or worse. And then once that Aries new moon hits on April 5th, but the moon moves into Aries on April 3rd. That's fresh start. That's that forward momentum we're looking for. Things might start to come to light as after the new moon, once things start to get illuminated. And honestly, I think that like I'm gonna call that we're gonna come to some big realizations, or some things are really gonna be coming into light by the next full moon, which is happening in Libra on let me look at my notes here. On March, just kidding, on April 19th. Oh, right, that's right, on April 19th, the day before 420, we're gonna have a full moon in Libra again, second one, and I'll talk more about that in detail as we get to it, but I see that being as an interesting time of things coming to light, justice. I see things like that. So interested to see what kind of happens around then. But as for this week, it is, since the moon is darkening, it is a reflective week. So take some time now. Even though we're technically out of Pisces season, we just like had that Mercury retrograde and it just ended. So take some time to reflect right now, and be aware of what comes up for you. What have you learned in the past few weeks as Mercury's been retrograde through Pisces? What things kind of came up for you during Pisces season? Pisces season is always a very interesting time for me because I always something big. I'm usually made aware of something very big, personally. So what's come up for you? Could very well be something that you end up playing and molding with throughout the rest of the year, for sure. So anyway, I'll pull a card for the week, and we will see what that has to say. Alright, for this cardinal week, as the moon darkens into the new moon in Aries. Let's get some guidance. Yep. All right. Ten of Swords came out. We're putting some things to rest right now, especially as we're moving in to this new moon in Aries, where it's really fresh new beginnings. New beginnings also mean death, right? Because death and life are intertwined. They are one and the same. They are the yin to the yang to the yin, to each other. So, and with that, and also with Pluto on the south node right now, I'm really feeling this. What's dead in your life? Well, I mean, we're getting to the point where we're fucking exhausted. We're sick of putting ourselves out there for certain things. We're tired of expending our precious energy on things that do not feed our souls, that are not like part of our soul's purpose. And I really see the next few years as a time where people start to break out of this kind of paradigm of being a slave to the system and reclaiming their divinity and their purpose, for sure. So lay to rest what you need to lay to rest this week before we start a brand new chapter as we begin the true Aries season. Yeah, it could be painful, and we may already be feeling pain and just like sorrow of the things that we need to let go of, but it's time. We need to move on. The only way forward is through. And with all the planets going direct right now, it's time to move forward. It's time to move forward. All right, friends. I hope you guys have an awesome week. I'll see you soon to talk about the new moon in Aries. It should be exciting. So, you guys, I'm sending you all my love. I know things aren't super easy right now. It's pretty tough, and it may be hard to put on, to even get out of bed or put on a happy face. And don't feel like you have to put on a happy face either. So much is changing and rearranging and shifting, and there's a lot of haze and fog and confusion around all of it. We don't really understand still how the pieces of the puzzle are going to come together. We just have to surrender and trust that they will. And we have to try to, as best as we can, even though it's difficult, to maintain a good attitude and a positive attitude so that we can attract what it is that we want. Even with everything with certain things dying and going to shit in our lives, and having to realize that we need to let go of things, we all have something or some things in our life that we are grateful for, that we have these wonderful magical things that have come into our life, that we need to put our focus into those things and to nourish those things and grow those things. So try to pay attention to where your energy is going. Pay attention to your vibration. Check in with yourself. And, I've been trying to do that a lot, and it's been tough to keep my vibration high personally too, with so many changes and the feelings that come along with that. But I found that when I consistently check in with myself and be like, okay, where am I? Am I frustrated? Am I angry? Am I sad? What is it? Why? How can I accept and acknowledge these feelings, but also kind of nudge myself in a direction of positivity as best as I can. Even if it just takes me thinking about my cat for a little bit, like sometimes I have to do that just to raise my vibration a little bit, to get myself out of a negative rut. So I'm sending you all my love. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We got this. We got this. All right. Love you. See you soon.